I don't want to scare anybody, but I wanted to share an experience we had with our son after we had COVID. So, as you may remember, my entire family had COVID at the end of January, beginning of February, and we survived it. We did very well under the circumstances. It was like a very bad winter cold. You can see all the video right here. And for those of you who were wondering, after watching that, my daughter finally tested positive about a week after all of us. And that was crazy because she had tested negative but was feeling the worst. She improved. I sent her to school because she was still negative. She got worse at school, and the Friday, after 2 days of from being at school, so she quarantined with us for a week, sent her to school. She fell sick again, so I took her to the doctor on Friday thinking, well, maybe it's just an ear infection because her ears were really bothering her. She was feeling very, very sick. It ended up finally testing positive to COVID. And to be honest with you, of all of us, she's 14, she was the one who felt the worst. The 9-year-old did great. My husband and I we fared pretty well, but my 14-year-old was feeling awful. Now, I say the 9-year-old did great, but there is a caveat. Alex turned 9 March 22nd. He had COVID at the beginning of February. Around that time, maybe 4 weeks after having COVID, I took him to get his 9-year-old checkup. And I noticed the pediatrician taking his vitals, with a stethoscope, listening to his heart. And I always know, because my daughter had this as a baby, when they go like this, they squint, they try to hear hard, and they're spending longer than usual, you're like, something's not right. She finishes the checkup. I had told her that he had COVID. We didn't end up at his pediatrician for COVID. Like I say in that video, I called my second tier of doctors that I adore, that are my friends, who I check everything with. So Dr. Daly says, I need you to get him a heart sonogram. A heart sonogram. She says, he has a heart murmur, and I think it's because of COVID. I said, a heart murmur? And she goes, yeah, I know, he's never had it before, because she could see in his records, but I can hear a heart murmur, and I want to make sure what type it is, because we've seen in children that they can develop a heart murmur after COVID, and so just go check them out. Heart murmurs are usually not bad, but I was stunned because our worry with El Metiche, how we adoringly call him, with our son Alex, were his lungs. And yeah, you'll see in that video that we gave him inhalers, we had him on steroids. His lungs fared so well. They did so well. He didn't have problems. He has gotten pneumonia a couple of times in the last few years, but he was absolutely fine. So of course, I texted my friend who's an allergist, Dr. Juanita Mora, and I said, oh my God, the pediatrician said Alex developed a murmur because of COVID. And she said, oh yeah, that can happen. But don't worry, it'll close up on its own. It'll be there for 6 to 8 weeks. I said, okay. She's like, but do the sonogram no matter what. Go ahead and do it for your peace of mind. He's gonna be fine. My daughter had a heart murmur, and I don't know if anyone else has gone through this, when she was a baby. We checked her at 1 year old. He heard it at 6 months old, our pediatrician, and we got an echo or a sonogram of her heart at 1 year old, and it had closed. Or I think it had closed, I don't remember, she's 14 now. But we had never heard of a 9-year-old that had developed a murmur. Thank you, COVID. So I just wanted to let you know about this, that it is a possibility, but we did take him to the echo. We took him to the heart sonogram, and it took about an hour, and it had closed up. no more murmur. And yes, I had scheduled that sonogram for about 3 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks after I had seen the pediatrician, because Alex then caught a cold and we went to Puerto Rico for Easter. So we probably got it in mid-April and the murmur had closed up. That's wonderful news. But just so you know, if that happens to you, follow your doctor's instructions, get your child checked to make sure that it is one of those murmurs that are provoked or caused by COVID, and close up, that there's nothing bad. But also about the seriousness of this virus and all the unknowns about this virus that we are confronting and dealing with daily, and now feels like something normal. But if you come up with any other, like after you have COVID, you're not feeling 100%, go get checked out. Alex was feeling fine. There were no symptoms. His pediatrician found it during his annual checkup, and that's how we found it. But if you don't feel great or your child doesn't feel great after having COVID, just go get it checked. It should be fine. And if you've gone through this or you want to share your concerns or whatever, however you're feeling after COVID, my husband and I's experienced fatigue for a few weeks, but we're perfectly fine. And I had a clean bill of health, but it wasn't like that with our son. And I wanted to share that with you so that you're aware. Leave your comments. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's keep it real together.